Good day, students, and welcome to our last quarter of our Health 9. So our topic for today is about injury prevention, safety, and first aid. So here are our objectives. First, differentiate intentional and unintentional injuries. Second, describe the types of intentional injuries. And third, demonstrate ways to prevent intentional and unintentional injuries. Now, what is the difference between intentional injuries and unintentional injuries? When we say intentional injuries, these are intended injuries that occur with purposeful intent and include homicide, suicide, domestic violence, sexual assault, and rape. When we say unintentional injuries, these are injuries that occur without purposeful intent and are leading to cause of death and disability. For example, motor vehicle, accidents, suffocation, drowning, poisoning, fire or burns, falls, and sports and recreation. So that is the difference between intentional and unintentional injuries. This quarter, we are going to talk about the intentional injury. Intentional injuries resulting from violence. So these are the injuries resulting from violence. It can be divided into two, self-inflicted and assault. When we say self-inflicted, this is when a person harms himself or herself on purpose. And assault, this means when a person or persons harm another person on purpose. Now, let's go to the types of intentional injuries. The first one is suicide. Suicide is the intentional taking of one's own life. The person chooses to kill his or herself. Many of us are suffering from mental illness, and some people do not receive mental and emotional counseling. Because of this, they just decided to hide their problems within themselves or within their family members. If they are ashamed of it, they cannot carry the problems. So they try to commit suicide. Did you solve the problem when you commit suicide? No. So if you are thinking or if you know someone who has a suicidal tendency, you may talk to him or her. Next one is parasuicide. Parasuicide is a suicide attempt in which a person does not intend to die. He or she does not want to die, but he or she just wants to inform his or her family members about what he or she feels. Despite of this, we should take this seriously because it may lead to problem later on. Now, how can we recognize a person who has suicidal tendencies? So oftentimes the person gives clues to us, but we do not recognize it. So here are some of the clues that we should consider when someone is talking to us about his or her problem, or when someone is talking to us without us recognizing that this person is suffering. The first one is talking about suicide or death. The second one, writing farewell letters or giving away valuable things to their friends and siblings. And lastly, showing changes in behavior, moods, and feelings. Next one is the domestic violence. It is an act that includes physical assault, sexual abuse, or verbal abuse. What are the kinds of physical assault? This includes hitting, pushing, or shoving. When we say sexual abuse, this includes unwanted or forced sexual activity. And when we say verbal abuse, these are the hurtful words that a person receives. So how can we know if we experience domestic violence? This includes name calling or put downs, keeping a partner from contacting his or her friends or family members, withholding money or allowance or denying financial support, stopping a partner from getting a job, actual or threatened physical harm, sexual assault, stalking, and intimidation. But nowadays, not only partners experience domestic violence. Even children at home experience domestic violence in their homes. When their parents are not in good terms, sometimes the children suffer from physical assault, sexual abuse, or verbal abuse. How can someone be a victim of domestic violence? Someone can be a victim of domestic violence if the partner is very jealous and or spies on him or her. The partner will not let him or her break off the relationship. The partner hurts him or her in any way, is violent or brags about hurting other people. If he puts him or her down or makes him or her feel bad. If he or she forces him or her to have sex or makes him or her afraid to say no to sex. Or if he or she abuses drugs or alcohol or pressures him or her to use drugs or alcohol. And lastly, if she or he has a history of bad relationships and blames it on others. Next is bullying. Bullying is an unwanted or aggressive behavior. This behavior can be repeated over time if we cannot stop or control a person. Both kids who are bullied and who bully others may have serious or lasting problems. There are a lot of classifications of bullying. The first one is the verbal bullying. This is saying or writing mean and nasty things. So verbal bullying includes teasing, name calling, making inappropriate sexual comments, taunting, or threatening to cause harm. Another classification of bullying is the social bullying. This is sometimes referred to as relational bullying. This can be done by hurting someone's reputation or relationships. And, and this includes telling other children not to be friends with someone, spreading rumors about someone, embarrassing someone in public. Next classification of bullying is the physical bullying. This is done by hurting a person's body or destroying his or her possessions. Physical bullying includes hitting or kicking or pinching, spitting, tripping, pushing, taking or breaking someone's things, or making mean or rude hand gestures. Last one is the cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a verbal and social bullying done through the use of technology and electronic means, which includes social media, mobile device, or using electronic mails. Another type of intentional injury is stalking. So this is a pattern of behavior that makes you feel afraid, nervous, harassed, or in danger. It is when someone follows you repeatedly, contacts you repeatedly, or sends you a thing and talks to you even when you don't want to talk to them. It is very threatening to the person being stalked because the behaviors and actions of the stalker often invade his or her privacy. How can you know that someone is a stalker? If the person keeps on knowing your schedule, if the person keeps showing up at places you go to, if the person keeps on sending mail or email and pictures, if the person keeps on calling or texting you repeatedly, if the person is contacting you or posting about you on social networking sites, if the person keeps on sending or writing letters for you, if the person is damaging your property, if the person is creating a website for you, if the person keeps on sending gifts for you, if the person steals things that belong to you, or any other actions to contact, harass, track, or frighten you. So if you know that someone is stalking you, better talk to the authorities. Another type of intentional injury is the extortion. This is commonly happen inside the school or near the school, wherein children are victimized to give up their food or their baon or even their allowances in exchange for the promise that the person or the bully will not hurt him or her again. So extortion is the act of using force or threats to force people to hand over their money or their properties. Next one is gang. Gang is defined as relatively tough, mostly street-based group of young people who regard themselves and may be seen by others as a group that engages in a range of criminal activity and violence. Oftentimes, they are in conflict with other similar gangs. What are the reasons why people or young people join gangs? The first one is they wanted to be belong or to be included or to be part of a group where they can identify themselves with. The second one is they want to have an adventure. And the third one is they feel protected and looked out for. When someone harms them, they think the gang or gangs will save them. Now, let's go to fraternity. Let us all remember that some fraternities are legal and registered. What is a fraternity? It is a group of people with similar backgrounds, occupations, interests, or tastes. In campuses and universities, fraternities are represented by Greek letters. Now, why do they join fraternity? The first one is they want to gain power and protection. The second one is they have guidance and assistance. Third one, they have academic support. And the fourth one, they feel the sense of belongingness. However, it is not easy to join fraternities. To maintain their exclusiveness, fraternity members would require an application to undergo a series of initiation rites to become part of the brotherhood. Some people die because of the hazing and other forms of initiation rites in fraternities, sororities, and organizations. That is why they made the Republic Act 1849. It is known as the Anti-Hazing Law. Under this law, physical hazing is prohibited, and fraternities, sororities, and other organizations are required to inform the school authorities about the process of their organization. Next one is kidnapping. Kidnapping is taking away or forcefully moving a person against his or her will and holding him or her in unjust captivity. The act is usually done for a motive like getting a monetary reward or ransom, or getting some sort of benefit from the person or their family. In kidnapping, the kidnapper is usually a family acquaintance who knows about the family's wealth and influence, or a stranger who targeted the victim based on their outward appearance of wealth or information given to the kidnapper from someone who knows the victim intimately. Abduction is the next one. This usually happens to children with separated parents, wherein the child will be tricked by one parent to come with him or her and take the child away from the other parent who has sole custody of the child. So most of the time, the abductor does not want money or monetary reward. What is an abduction? It is the use of deceit or force in order to take a person or a child away from their home or relatives. So in abduction, the victim usually knows or has some sort of relationship with the abductor. Sometimes abductor want to get some monetary reward or ransom, only sometimes. But most of the time, they want to get some benefit from the person or their family, especially I told you if the parents are separated. Next one is the act of terror or terrorism. Sometimes terrorists just want to have the greatest publicity, choosing targets that symbolize what they oppose. The effectiveness of the terrorist act lies not in the act itself, but in the public's or government's reaction to the act. They want the government to act about something. Terrorism is the use of violence for political goals and putting the public or a great number of people in fear. Let's go now to the six categories of acts of terror or terrorism. The first one is the state terrorism. States or government can use force or the threat of force without declaring war to terrorize their citizens and achieve a political goal. Next one is the bioterrorism. This includes viruses, bacteria, and toxins. This refers to the intentional release of toxic biological agents to harm and terrorize civilians in the name of a political or other cause. Next one is cyber terrorism. It is the use of information technology to attack civilians and draw attention to the terrorist cause. This may mean that they can use computer systems or telecommunications as a tool to carry out a traditional attack. Next one is eco-terrorism. This is the use of violence in the interest of environmentalism. In general, environmental extremists destroy property to inflict economic damage on industries or actors they see as harming animals or the natural environment. Next one is the nuclear terrorism. It refers to a number of different ways nuclear materials might be used as a terrorist tactic. These include attacking nuclear facilities, purchasing nuclear weapons, or building nuclear weapons or otherwise finding ways to diffuse radioactive materials. Next one is the narco-terrorism. This is the use of violence by drug traffickers to influence governments or prevent governments' efforts in stopping the drug trade. This may involve the assassination of influential persons who are against drug trafficking or killing a government official who leads an anti-drug. Next one is verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is a form of cruelty that involves the use of words, or in short, the use of hurtful words to attack, control, and cause harm on another person. Another type of intentional injuries is the sexual abuse. Sexual abuse includes incest, molestation, and rape. Let's go first to incest. Incest is a sexual contact between persons who are so closely related that a marriage between them is considered illegal. Meaning to say, incest takes the form of an older family member having sexual relations or sexually abusing a child or an adolescent. Under sexual abuse, we also have molestation. Molestation is the sexual abuse of a person by an adult for sexual pleasure or for profit. It occurs when an individual sees another individual as a sexual object and uses this idea to satisfy his or her sexual urges and fantasies. These include any of the following: sodomy, fondling, child prostitution, child pornography, coitus, or mutual masturbation. When we say coitus, this is a sexual intercourse between a male and a female involving the insertion of the penis into the vagina. Last one is rape under sexual abuse. Rape is forced sexual intercourse including vaginal, anal, or oral penetration. Penetration may be by a body part or an object. Now, we are done with the different types of intentional injuries. But how to prevent becoming a victim? In order to prevent becoming a victim of assault and abuse, we should have or we should know the proper self-defense techniques which involve physical, mental, and emotional assertiveness. And these are the following. The first one is the self-esteem. Having confidence or self-confidence that will make you less likely to be chosen as an easy target. You have to make sure that you are not an easy target so that they will be scared of you and they think that you are stronger than them. Next one is assertiveness. Having a bold and confident behavior, like speaking with conviction, may prevent a physical attack. Next one is the body language. Making direct eye contact with the attacker and using a strong voice are some actions that can send off a message to the attacker that you are aware of what or how to take care of your safety and that you will not be victimized easily. Next one is having an intuition. One important rule is that if you sense danger or if you sense that something is wrong or about to happen, you should immediately get away of that situation. And last one is the self-protective attitude. Most important of all, you must realize that you are worthy and have a right to be treated with respect. Being safe is your right, but it is also your responsibility. So you must know how to self or how to protect yourself. Okay? And that's it for our lesson for the Health 9 for the fourth quarter. All right. And that would be the end of our class in Health 9 for the fourth quarter. Thank you, Grade 9, for always doing your best despite of this pandemic this school year. I hope to see you again in Grade 10 for our English 10. Thank you and have a good day.